The best of media does not spoon feed you, but leaves you wondering in awe. A couple of films have done this for me, but I have yet to experience this feeling in the medium of manga. Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Chainsaw Man, experiments with manga in his one-shot Goodbye Eri, with heavy film influences that places me in a world where I stop and question the nature of my reality. Before starting, a quick spoiler warning. I highly recommend reading Goodbye Eri on the Manga Plus app. It's 200 pages, so you can easily read it in one sitting before breaking it down here. With that being said, let's get started. Goodbye Eri follows the story of Yuta, a young boy who captures the last days of his terminally ill mother with his phone at his mother's request. Yuta spends several days witnessing his mother's life with a camera recording her everyday moments as her sickness progresses. In her final moments, Yuta fails to bring himself to record her and finishes the film commemorating his mother with a twist. Seen as disrespectful to her memory, the reception of the film by his peers is unanimously negative. Yuta is broken until he meets Eri, who pushes him to learn how good stories are made and to make a new film to redeem himself in the next festival. This time resulting in Yuta filming Eri, also revealed to be terminally ill, and her final moments in a similar vein to his mother's film. By filming Eri in her final moments, Yuta tries to find a perfect ending for his film. Tatsuki Fujimoto, a film buff in his own right, has been heavily influenced by famous titles even in his past works in Chainsaw Man, including Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Aliens, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and even Sharknado. Tatsuki Fujimoto even has a dedicated chapter in Chainsaw Man where Denji and Makima go to the theater to watch and critique movies, a future source of exposition for the worldviews of each character. Fujimoto magnifies these scenes of an audience experiencing film as a focal point in Goodbye Eri in dark double-page spreads, illuminated by the screen to bring the reader into the fold of the shocked audience as they watch the inappropriate ending to the film. Cool guys don't look at explosions, but couldn't you have come up with a better ending to honor the memory of your mother?
俺の名はエレン・イエーガー
Through key stylistic choices in the manga, Goodbye Eri has a unique cinematic aesthetic that makes it seem like you're watching a film shot through first person, or with the cinema verite style, a method found in movies like Cloverfield or shows like The Office. Most manga have very dynamic panel shapes and sizes, but Fujimoto elects to split his pages in consistent panels of 4 of the same size, giving the impression of an animation storyboard or a roll of film. This calls to attention the few pages that don't follow this pattern, like ones with 1-page spreads and 2-panel pages. Fujimoto uses this panel format to his advantage in dictating the pacing of the story with repetition of panels in the same page for slow, deliberate pacing with some slight changes in expression and speeches panel by panel. The small developments in between the pauses give that unscripted, intimate feel of the genuine interactions filmed through a home video. This stylistic choice facilitates the delivery of some of the funniest moments in the story, like when Yuta's dad scolds Eri in a live interview for making Yuta do another film after his traumatic first experience with creating films, just to turn the scenario on its head, with the whole interview as part of the scripted film. One of the many examples of a blurring between the reader's reality and the film, and a magic trick that develops further in the story. Within the panels, the line art is filled with motion driven by the shaky camera work of Yuta with the really interesting effect utilizing digital tones. Fujimoto seems to copy line art as a separate layer and moving it to the side slightly, converting that second line art layer into a tone to make it lighter, giving the impression of camera movement blurring the subject. Fujimoto also changes the lightness of the line art in grayscale in some panels for a softer look in the development of motion. A motion picture captured on print. Finally, to sell that dizzying yet engrossing first-person perspective, Fujimoto frames Yuta and other characters breaking the fourth wall and talking to the viewer while obscuring the panel with their hand, directly interacting with the proverbial camera, much like a YouTube vlogger. It is with this first-person framing of each panel that Fujimoto is able to blur the lines, switching back and forth between fantasy, edited for perfection, with selectively captured moments, and reality with uncut footage revealing the true nature of the film's subjects. Fujimoto has a habit of writing toxic female characters being charming, seductive, but very manipulative, as his male protagonists idealize them, putting them on a pedestal, but ignoring their flaws until later on in the story. In his past work, Chainsaw Man, there's a running gag that all the women Denji falls in love with do not actually love him back and want to take advantage of him. Makima is shown as the main love interest for Denji in the beginning as one of the leaders of the Devil Hunters, who feeds Denji's search for love with signs of affection to gain control over him. But it is later revealed that Makima does not love Denji, but is using him for her plans of world domination, to create a perfect, ideal world. A world with no bad films. Fujimoto builds on this idea of the ideal in Goodbye Eri with 2 back-to-back narratives of capturing the last moments of terminally ill female figures in Yuta's life. His mother and his love interest, Eri. These situations help to magnify the selective framing and idealization of these characters, as typically only the good parts are included when commemorating those who have passed. Obituaries never speak ill of the deceased, and in effect, Yuta's film excludes the flaws of his mother and Eri. In the film of his mother, who looks very similar to Makima coincidentally, Yuta splices together wholesome scenes of his mom's last days. Her cheerful and silly personality in her everyday life makes her sympathetic as her condition worsens. Her request to leave a small piece of her for Yuta when she's gone, through the bright memories in the film, seems like a noble wish, depicting her as a perfect, caring mother until her very tragic end. The same overly positive treatment can be found in Eri's film, where they capture the intimate moments between Yuta and Eri, sharing a loving bond that is fleeting due to Eri's terminal condition. Each scene filmed in Yuta's first-person point of view makes you fall in love with Eri's character, as it feels like you're the one dating her, sharing precious memories. It feels like scrolling through an Instagram a couple of years ago when a girl would post scenic vacation photos holding her boyfriend's hand behind the camera. But the beautiful memory is all manufactured. A lie. A meticulously crafted lie. Yuta's interview cuts with other side characters in the story helps add new perspectives and reveal the true nature of the person through the people who knew the characters of the film the best. Throughout these conversations, the panels maintain that single camera point of view setup. Frankly, the choppy cuts to each interview would function well for a documentary. But in a work of fiction, it feels like something I'd see in an episode of Parks and Rec. Nonetheless, these conversations are key expositions of the true nature of the subjects of the film, and brings you back to reality once again. After the second film, Eri's friend revealed that Eri, the tragic lover, was not as beautiful as the film led you to believe. Eri had a temper, and most of all, she never dated Yuta and rejected him despite the beauty of the relationship depicted in the film. Going back to Yuta's mother's film, Yuta's failure to film his mother's last moments initially hides key exposition until it's revealed that Yuta's father fulfilled her last wish on her deathbed, revealing the true nature of his mother. Selfish, callous, and abusive. The film was precisely selected for certain scenes, but Yuta's raw uncut footage shows Yuta's mother scolding him repeatedly on every minute detail and hitting him while she treated her husband terribly. Her real intentions were to make content about her recovery as a TV producer to boost her public image, and not her more selfless reason shown in the film. She wanted to hide her true, self-promoting nature and the abuse of her father and son with the rose-tinted view of curated memories as a kind and giving mother. Both Eri and Yuta's mother control their narrative and image and use Yuta's camera as a vehicle to capture beautiful, yet misleading memories. This attitude can be seen on social media today, with people highlighting only the high parts of their lives, removed from the struggles of reality. And it is this commentary on media that makes a manga shine through Fujimoto's panel choices. Diving into the narrative, it's in the last part of the one-shot that sinks you into the abyss of uncertainty and pulls you out just as quickly. To summarize, after the ending of the second film with Eri, where Yuta finds his will to create again and redeems his last film, he grows up, continuing to edit Eri's film through college and into adulthood with a wife and kids, until tragedy strikes again with his family dying in a car crash. Yuta, broken again, decides to go back to the place of his childhood where he shared so many memories with Eri as a much older man. And what awaits him is nothing short of astounding. Is Eri still alive after all these years? Or are we still in the film after Yuta's years of cuts, making her memory immortal through Eri's film? A rush of questions and mystery permeate until the final reveal. You are the audience. The whole story was wrapped into one film as Fujimoto makes you engage with media as a fluid form, considering different formats and layering the first two films in his panels. The final film ultimately goes full circle, redeeming the first film's ending with a repetition of a gag, which is as comical as it is self-reflective. In effect, Fujimoto's one-shot manages to layer a movie into a movie into a movie. Some of my favorite films like Perfect Blue and Inception always leaves the ending up to interpretation, to wonder on the final reveal of the creator's magic trick. For Goodbye Eri, are we still in reality or just watching another film?